All right. I see a red light. Are you out there, George Schramm?
I'm here, Brian. Good to see you.
Wonderful. So today, this is something new for me. Tell people who you are and what you're doing because you got some information.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. So I'm George Schramm. I am alumni of Monte Vista High School. I graduated there in '93. I played football at Monte Vista, went on and played football at Colorado State. Now I am a football coach at Monte Vista. I have two children at Monte Vista. One is a junior who plays football, and then my daughter is a sophomore who's a cheerleader. And ever since this pandemic started and all these restrictions and guidelines and obstacles surrounding football came about, I started a page on Facebook called Allow High School Football in 2020, which probably should be changed to 2021 now. But the purpose of that page was just to have a centralized location where all of us could share information because it was everywhere. And there was a lot of misinformation. So I wanted to create that one landing page that people like me and you and parents and players could go to for any information that any of us find. That was the point of that. So that's kind of who I am, where I came from, what I do, given our current situation.
Right. And the key thing here, not to be funny, you're Monte Vista, I'm De La Salle.
Right.
That's not an issue. No. The issue is, people that watch us don't need to know about. You're about the same. You know about the 1987 game?
I sure do.
Forrester hit the pylon, my friend.
His foot was out.
Okay.
His foot was out.
All right. So people that don't know what we're talking about, you can Google that. That's very important. But that's in the past. And
that's right.
What I like about you, George, is you're level-headed and you have an idea, to get everyone together. Where should they be directing their efforts?
Well, over the last few months, I've seen a lot of misguided attacks on the school board, Dr. Malloy for the San Ramon Valley School District. Sometimes there's some attacks at the school or the principal or the AD, and I understand where people are coming from and their frustrations in doing that. However, I want people to know that that's not who we're fighting with, and I hate to even use the word fight, but that is not who is preventing our kids from playing. I wish it was. If it was that localized and centralized, this would be a lot easier if they were the ones actually making the decision, but it's not the case. Furthermore, people are going after the county health officials. Yes, they do have a say in this, but as of right now, those are not the ones holding us back. This is state. We are starting with the state. It all trickles down. It goes from the state to the county. No, I take that back. I'm sorry. It goes from the state to CIF, then from CIF to the sections to the counties to the school district. So, a lot of people were directing all their frustrations kind of at the bottom of this ladder. So I want everyone to know kind of where we need to really be directing our efforts. And as of right now, that is at the state level. And everyone is kind of waiting for Newsom and the other state health officials to give us some guidance. And then once they do, that's going to then trickle down to CIF and then the various counties. Right. So we got to have our message directed correctly.
And the guy actually is Dr. Mark Ghaly. He's the leader of the California Department of Public Health. He's going to make the decision. Tell people about that. His decision is going to impact everybody.
Yeah, so you're welcome to email Dr. Mark Ghaly. It's mark.ghaly@chhs.ca.gov. That's his email. But, while I give that email out, I also just want to encourage everyone to be positive. Don't be attacking. And I do not mean to tell you what to do by any means, but as I've seen over the last couple months, a lot of combative, very negative, very attacking type communication goes nowhere. We all have to kind of be understanding with the situation, whether we agree with it or not, and come from a place of sympathy and understanding and asking for help and displaying that, number one, we've seen other high schools in other states complete their season successfully with little to no problems. We know why they have been able to do that, the protocols, safety procedures that they put in place in order to have a safe and successful season. We just want people like him to know that it can be done. It has been done. There's examples all over the place. We ask for him to please help us, help our California athletes have a season. So the messaging that we give to him has to be nice. You know, it can't be combative. It's not going to get us anywhere.
It has to be constructive. And then
Right.
in the back of our minds, we're thinking somehow, I don't know how he sees this, and he says, hey, Brian and George, they're kind of level-headed. Maybe I'll talk to them, because we could if we talk to him directly, we would do everything what you said. We're polite. We act constructive. That would be a dream if we ever could talk to him. Correct?
I mean, that would be great if he was open to that. You know, anyone on the state health board, that would be fantastic. Because I don't know, honestly, I don't know who they're talking to. You know, I'm not sure if they are talking to other athletic entities. I know they are talking to CIF, but I don't know what's being said, right? So, you know, when the topic of football or athletic comes up with mostly county health officials, they're talking about the mental health and well-being of our student athletes, which is very important, is very true. However, I'm not sure if the message is making it to these decision makers that it goes well beyond this. We have seniors in our state that, you know, they're not going to go to college unless they have a senior season. And there's a lot of players in California that won't be able to get to college without football. They don't have the financial means. Maybe they don't have the grades sufficient enough to go to a quality institution. Football is their ticket. And, you know, some of these athletes have been working at this their whole life, you know, 12 years plus for some kids when you factor in youth and then the 4 years of high school. And I don't know if these state health officials are factoring that into the equation. All they talk about is mental health of our kids and being physically active. And I just, again, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I hope they are looking at the potential future, the hurt that they are doing to these, specifically these seniors, that is going to, you know, drastically affect the direction of their life as an adult. You know, I played with kids that wouldn't have been in that college institution if it wasn't for football, and that hurts my heart. I mean, as much as I care about my son and having a junior season, I know he's going to get a senior season, but these seniors are not, and that's what is most concerning to me about our situation, is these poor seniors that have to have football in order to proceed with college.
Yeah, and that's a bigger conversation, and some people don't even know what I'm talking about, where if there is no college scholarship, some families can't send their kids. Like you're Danville. If your kid doesn't get a scholarship, he's going to college anyway. But it's these people that have to play football. And as I said, tell the Colorado State story, where people that came and played with you because they played for Colorado State, they're not in the NFL, but they're living productive lives. It gave them an opportunity to change their whole family's history.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you really think about the ripple effect that this could have, and you know, using those examples, you know, I had several teammates, great guys, you know, phenomenal guys, great players, not terrible students. You know, maybe it was a student who had a 2.5 or something, or a 2.3, right? You know, that player went to a great institution like Colorado State in my situation, got their degree, got their education. Now they're out in the community as adults, have great jobs. They now have kids that they are raising. I mean, you take that away from the 2021 class on a state level, the ripple effect that this could have down the line, it's scary to even think about. We all have heard stories about, again, football players. It can be any sport, but we've heard stories about football players that kind of go off the tracks, right? And football keeps them on the track. And the ripple effect that this could have years and years down the road as these 21 graduates will later become adults. It's a little scary to think about, that they're not just robbing, and again, robbing is it's a bad word. I don't want to use it, but not only are they preventing a high school kid from having a season, there's a long-term effect for many kids, many football players in the 21 class that won't be realized until years down the road if we do not have a season for these seniors. And that's scary to think about.
Right, and this also just shows how level-headed we were. You used a word like robbing, you corrected yourself. So
Yeah.
this is even more why Mark Galley should talk to us. That
Well, yeah, because again, I don't think any of it's intentional. I really don't believe that.
Right.
I understand the science. I understand the virus. I understand the concern. So I don't think any of this is intentional. I guess all I'm trying to say, or the message that I hope we all give out to them, is that A, we understand the concerns, but B, we know how to do this safely. And we're not guessing. There's examples all over the country of how to execute a season in a safe manner. I mean, everything from, no locker rooms, no bus rides. Fine, no problem at all. Mask when you're not playing on the field. Testing, frequent testing, temperature checks. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of other high school institutions across the country that have done this, that have implemented these safeguards. We know how to do it. And we know the result of when you do that, when you do it. You can have a successful season in a safe way. No spectators, fine, no problem. We're wiping down the sled after each kid uses it, wiping down the footballs. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I don't know if these state officials realize that these kids and these parents will literally bend over backwards and do whatever they are told to do if it means they'll have a season. I mean, I was talking to my son the other night and I said, hey, Rocco, if we have a season, odds are there's no locker room, there's no bus rides, there's no rallies at school, like all that stuff's gone. His response was, I don't care. Like, if you tell me that the only way I can play football is, to go play in my underwear, he'd play. So I guess what I want to say to the state officials is give us the guidelines. Say, you guys cannot play unless you do X, Y, and Z. And everyone will bend over backwards to do it.
Right. And beyond that, you were telling me, even if the kids aren't in school, that doesn't go hand in hand with making it more difficult to play football. Tell me about that.
Right. So when we, at our school district, when they rolled out the options of either going hybrid on January 5th or full remote, that is when I personally reached out to our school board, the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, and our high school at Monte Vista. And I said, hey, I just want to make sure that going to school hybrid or full remote has no effect on the ability to play a sport. And both entities both told me one thing has nothing to do with the other. So I again went to the school board and said, so let me run a hypothetical by you. Monte Vista goes full remote. The CIF, the county, the state say you're good to play. Being full remote, will that prevent us from playing? They said, no, absolutely not. One has nothing to do with the other. And I know logically that makes no sense. Like you and I have talked about before, I'm throwing logic out. And I think that's what a lot of people have to do in this situation, is kind of throw out logical arguments, and that's one of them. So no, we can be fully remote and still have a football season.
Correct. And then it's beyond football, there's some sports that I think and maybe you think people can be doing, if the weather's right. Golf, tennis, what else did I come up with? Cross country, track and field,
yeah,
swimming. Those people that do diving, they climb to the top of that diving board by themselves and they do a beautiful dive into the pool by themselves. They should be able to compete. I don't know, that would be in the spring. So no, I mean, some of these things are no brainers. So I'm, at the very least, we're hopeful we'll see some sports.
Yeah, like you said, there are some that are no brainers. I think the problem that the state runs into is there's a lot of subjectivity in that. So, you gave the example of diving, right? Well, let's say they say yes to diving and no to football. And then a football parent says, yeah, but the diver is climbing up and holding on to the ladder and they're in the pool. And can this survive in water. I mean, so I understand the logic behind some sports makes sense.
Right.
But I also, again, sympathize with the state in that they don't want to give one sport a green light and not all. That opens up a whole new can of worms for them. So again, I sympathize with them on that. They don't want to make exceptions for one another. The only separation between sports that I could understand and see would be indoor-outdoor. So I could see them saying that, all indoor sports cancel. I hope they don't. I really hope they do a blanket sports decision. But that would kind of be the only one I would see them potentially saying it all has to be outdoor. And I don't know. I'm not a health official, but that's
what a basketball could be a white men can't jump. They go all outdoors, playing on the hard courts of Los Angeles, or
blacktop, baby.
Blacktop. And the other thing, going back to diving, it also goes back to, you remember Back to School, Rodney Dangerfield doing the kids should be allowed to do a triple Lindy.
Lindy.
Tell people what a triple Lindy is.
How do you even explain that?
You can't. All you got to do.
Springboards.
Exactly. All you got to do, people, if you don't know what to watch tonight, watch Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, 1986. You'll learn about that. That's why George and I are blood brothers. But how do we, that's also, see, we want to have a good time, but it's also about putting out information. Maybe, what have I missed? What would you like to add, George?
I mean, we've covered a lot. I just think, the takeaway message here is, direct your message correctly to the right people as it stands right now. And as of now, that is with the state. The message needs to be non-combative. That's not going to get us anywhere. And the message also has to display that we know how to do this safely, and we're just asking you to allow us the choice in order to do it. That's really what it is. Let it be our choice. Also, including that we have examples all over the country, and we know how to do it safe because others have showed us how to do it. And lastly is to make the message known that this goes far beyond just a social and health and well-being type topic, that there are future implications for our poor seniors that have been working towards this sport or any sport to move on to the next level and get a college degree. So it's having the right message directed at the right people and having a ton of it, right? I mean, we've learned this year that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So we have to make noise, correct noise, directed correctly, but we have to encourage everyone to do it, or else nothing is going to get done. We've found that sitting and waiting doesn't work. Who's to say that if we wouldn't have made more noise back in August, who's to say we wouldn't have had a season like 40 plus states have already had? I don't know. But all I can tell you right now is this is it. This is our last shot. If we do not get the green light here in the next month or so for a spring season, we're done. It won't happen. So we've had 3 shots at this. And this is it. This is fourth quarter, 1 yard line. This is it.
Or it's a ninth inning.
Or the ninth inning, sure.
2 strikes,
Yep.
So no, I can't tell you. I've enjoyed this conversation,
Yeah.
and I hope some good comes of this. Tell people how to find you on Facebook.
So Facebook, you can go to Allow Football High School in 2020. That's the page for this. Facebook, I don't even know what my Facebook name is, but if you just search George Schramm,
I would
you'll
hope
see me there.
George, I would hope it's George Schramm. I hope you don't have an alias on Facebook.
No. Okay, so it's George T. Schramm, middle initial, George
Yes.
T. Schramm.
Okay.
That's how you can find me on Facebook, or Instagram is George Schramm Mortgage on Instagram.
You're big time. You're like Michael J. Keaton on, unbelievable. On Facts
Michael
of
J.
Life.
Fox. J. Fox.
Thank you. Michael J. Fox. Michael Keaton with Batman and Mr. Mom. Okay.
I'm the third George Schramm, so we had to throw the T in there to get some individuality.
Okay, yeah. So put the T in there so George's dad doesn't get stuff on Facebook or something. All right. No, I like to thank you today. We can do more of this at another date, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, if people want more, love talking about this. Like you and I, this is what we love to talk about. So
Yeah, no,
love to do it.
people love seeing middle-aged men on Facebook. All
Bunch of
right.
has-beens, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, stay tuned. I'll pause it. I'll talk to you a little bit afterwards here. Hold on a second.
Okay, great.